Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today. Hold on, what am I saying? Am I officiating a wedding today? No. Then, why did I start that way? Indeed, we are here to witness something equally profound. Many of our students have had the courage to take on the formidable task of thinking beyond themselves, taking a look at some of the complex societal and environmental challenges that our world faces, and attempting to come up with an innovative solution to those challenges. The 19 teams that will take the stage this afternoon are the semi-finalists in the Global Social Innovation Challenge, an initiative that lasts a year long, and it's designed and hosted by the Center for Peace and Commerce here at USD that resources, recognizes, and rewards student-led social ventures that are focused on sustainable change. The teams are competing for a chance to become USD finalists that will get to represent Torero change making at the global final of the Social Innovation Challenge right here on June 23rd. We have an action-packed afternoon ahead of us. We'll start with the opening remarks from Dean Jaime Alonso Gomez before we get a taste of the social innovations put forward by the 19 teams. Then the judges will retire to the green room to deliberate while we hear from our keynote speaker. Then we'll announce the prizes and the nominations for the USD finalist for the Global Social Innovation Challenge. And then Dean Patricia Marquez, who is also the visionary architect of this initiative that we are all witnessing here, will give the closing remarks before Rachel Christensen invites all of us to join for a reception in the back of this building. So with that, let's hear from Dean Gomez.
We are indeed in a wedding that actually took place some years ago. It is the wedding of the School of Peace and the School of Business, education with purpose. We really mean education with purpose because if we look at any context, political, economic, social, we are in what we call a VUCA environment: volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. Just reading the newspaper on your iPad or looking at the news, we see crime, we see violence, corruption. We see many opportunities, and simultaneously, we see light. We see a sustainable future. That's why some years ago, the two schools, Peace and Business, decided to contribute in proactive ways to developing a prosperous society. So the 19 presentations that we're going to be listening to are kind of the children of this wedding. We really believe that we are producing positive things in our wedding, in our marriage. Dr. Marquez is smiling here because she understands that at the beginning, the situation was difficult, but we didn't have an exit clause. It was a pre-matrimonial situation. No, we decided to be together for the rest of our lives. Social Innovation Challenge is the explicit manifestation of many things, but in particular, those many things have to do with one single vision. About 3 years ago, the School of Business engaged into identifying challenges and opportunities in the area here, in the San Diego, Tijuana area. And we were able to identify more than 25 challenges and opportunities, such as, for instance, integration of the two sides of the border. Another possibility was, how do we create, the San Diego Housing Commission has a 15,000 people list of people who want to have an apartment. And we can see so many other opportunities in which the two schools have decided to work together. So now, 25 years into the future, we envision the contemplation of the business enterprise as a bottom line force for peace and prosperity or sustainable futures. For instance, 37% of our graduates from the MBA, they have their own business. And we, as part of the education proposition that we have in the school, we believe that all of these new businesses can be people inclusive, socially inclusive, that is the first P, people, ecologically friendly, planet, profitable, because we need profit in order to have a sustainable life. So people, planet, and profits. But we also want the business enterprise and the entrepreneurial activities of our entrepreneurs here in the school and outside of the school too, to engage into operations that lead into peace and prosperity. Governments and institutions are insufficient around the world. I didn't say wrong. They are insufficient to produce peace and prosperity. Think of the business enterprise. And I would say, let's say the family businesses around the world. In Australia, they configure 82% of the economically active population in that country. In Spain, 79% of the private employment in the whole country. In the United States, 62% of all the businesses are private, closely held. So if we focus on family business or in entrepreneurship, if we focus on the business enterprise as a whole, including the 5 Ps, in 25 years, and I bet my mustache on it, and this is a serious bet, we will have a substantially different world. People, planet, profit, peace, and prosperity. Social Innovation Challenge is a great example of the vision that we have about the future. All of these entrepreneurs, all of these people, innovation-driven people, we will be contributors to fabricating, to generating a sustainable future. There are many other things the School of Business and the School of Peace are doing together, because that's how we see it. It is a marriage based on intentions and common futures. It is not just complementary on each other's competencies, which is already a fact. We are complementing each other. But we really want at the University of San Diego to envision the business enterprise as a proactive force for peace and prosperity. Education with purpose. We're really happy to be here together because we're going to see the fruition of this marriage. All of these projects, all of these possibilities to really engage into creating sustainable wealth, inclusive employment, peace, and prosperity. Welcome to this event, and I really congratulate everybody here because we are not just witnessing, we are basically planting the seeds of a new future. Thank you very much.
Good evening. We're thrilled to have you here. We want to start with a couple thank yous. So thank you. Many of you are here. Thank you to our Social Innovation Showcase mentors, coaches, and judges, people that have given their time and their wisdom and their experience to the students that you'll see today. Thank you also to our USD Social Innovation Showcase sponsors and to the Global Social Innovation Challenge sponsors, again, many of you that are here. Thank you. Thank you to all of you, and an invitation. If you'd like at any point during the ceremony to get social, we gave you a couple things you're able to tweet or post. I'm witnessing the spirit of social change here at USD, or social innovation happening here at USD, and then if you would like, you can tag us at USD CPC, so an invitation there. So with that, I would like to invite our students to come up. Each one will give you a 90-second pitch. They'll go in consecutive order. They'll come on and leave on the same side of the stage. So we invite you to have a taste of what is going on here at USD when it comes to social innovation. So I'm going to invite the first student to come on up. You can give her some applause. This is hard to do. Let's give her some applause. That's wonderful. So we'll get started with Baja Urban.
Imagine doing that repetitive process for 8 or 9 hours a day. That's what women like my aunt do in maquiladoras, assembly lines, factory lines across the border, just 30 minutes away from here in Tijuana, getting paid around $4 to $5 a day, not being able to afford sometimes even a bathroom inside their house. I grew up in the San Diego-Tijuana border region, seeing the disengagement and disconnect between production and products, seeing how we are disconnected with the things that we buy, not knowing what effects it has on the local production and the lives of the family that produce these products. That is why I created Baja Urban, in order to create and sell products that make an impact through a supply chain that makes an impact throughout the supply chain. First, we're selling handcrafted products, like the one I'm wearing right now, made in Colombia, handcrafted in Colombia. So the products that we sell are handcrafted, trendy, fashionable products that are sellable at a high value in the market value. But we know that in order to make an impact, we must produce our own products. That is why we're creating a production center in Tijuana in collaboration with an artisan collective in Chiapas, Mexico, in order to create products that make an impact. We're products that make a statement and have an impact. Follow Baja Urban.
And we'll have each team just come up consecutively one after another. So we'll have next.
Historically, girls of color are faced with systematic issues such as poverty, racism, and the lack of quality education. This affects their personal, academic, and professional growth. I am the founder of Be Sisterly, a sisterhood for high school girls of color. Since our founding in 2016, Be Sisterly has inspired over 20 girls by building their self-confidence and providing them with opportunities to thrive. 87% of girls who attend mentoring programs enroll into college within 2 years of high school graduation, and 52% are less than likely to become childhood mothers. Imagine a world where we inspire young girls of color to enhance their personal skills and their personal talents while giving them the skills to become confident leaders. I'm Carmen Knight, and I challenge you to be who you needed when you were younger. Be sisterly and join our sisterhood.
I want everyone to please close your eyes for 8 seconds and try to feel what's around you. Maddening, don't you think so? Well, this is the reality of 1.3 billion people every single day due to the lack of electricity. Also, in those 8 seconds, one person just died from diseases related to cooking smoke. Unfortunately, the people who lack these basic services, such as electricity and clean cooking facilities, are the people that cannot even ensure their daily life needs, meaning that they live under the poverty line. My name is Francisco Alvarez. I'm from Mexico City, and in partnership with the African Clean Energy Organization, we want to introduce an innovation that fights two major social problems that are electricity and clean cooking facilities, reducing smoke for clean cooking, and providing electricity from solar energy. There are few projects that fight these two social major challenges because of its high cost, but we are the first low-cost innovation that's out there right now. And with your help, and with the help of African Clean Energy, we will be able to change these people's life. With this, you will not only be investing in energy, but you will be investing in humanity. Thank you very much.
Eight months ago, I was backpacking in Vietnam, staying in a rural village with a woman named Pong and her 3- and 5-year-old sons. It was a Tuesday afternoon, and her sons were still at home, so I asked if her village had a school. She says, "Oh yes, we have a school, but my kids can only go to school for 2 months out of the year because we can't afford their school supplies." Today, hundreds of millions of kids across the world didn't go to school simply because they can't afford their own educational supplies. Just think about that. My name is Blake Beerwith, and I founded Enlightened to help solve this problem. Enlightened is a brand that is empowering students to take control of their own students by helping monetize their creativity. We work with nonprofits across the globe and here in San Diego that are helping students turn that creativity into computer designs. We take the students' designs, put them on tangible products, and sell them to consumers across the United States, using our profits to ensure that they have school supplies throughout the entire year. Now think about this. Our first product, our Enlightened bottle, was designed by an elementary school student named Tenzin. Just in 1 month since we've launched, we've been featured on ABC 10 News, have turned a profit of almost $1,000, and gave Tenzin the opportunity to pay for her own educational supplies for an entire year. How cool is that? So where are we going from here? This summer, we'll be launching a crowdfunding campaign, and with your support, we'll be able to give over 100 students the opportunity to pay for their own school supplies by the end of 2018. My name is Blake Beerwith, and we are Enlightened. Thank you. Thank you.
By a show of hands, how many of you grew up with the benefit of having a grandparent actively involved in your life? Well, unfortunately, that's not the case for many Americans today. In fact, 11 million seniors are socially isolated, in part because they're geographically removed from their families. And that statistic is expected to double in the next 20 years. Last year, the VFW donated a Christmas tree to my elderly father. And it wasn't the tree itself that was meaningful. It was the time the sponsor family spent with him decorating it. I can't be with my father every week, and so I asked the mother of that family if she could have him over to family dinners every Sunday night. It's always the highlight of his week. And I've given her $30 for that service. And that was our first of many successful alpha tests. My name is Janera Quigley, co-founder of Generations. Think Uber meets Care.com. Shopping trips, rides to the doctor, meals in the home, and that's just the beginning. Generations is a web-based service platform that allows stay-at-home parents to build a business and an income by providing caretaking and companionship services to seniors. The services are paid for by the seniors or by family members like myself. Generations keeps 20% of revenues, and that keeps us sustainable and scalable. As a community, let's reconnect our generations so we can keep our hands raised far into the future. Thank you.
Somewhere over the rainbow. Can you hear it? That sweet melody? How does it feel? Are you remembering your childhood, an old friend, a passion to conquer your dreams, or maybe just enough hope for another day? Music has that power to inspire, remind, heal. My name is Rebecca. I'm with Gigs for Change, and we connect musicians with community. But there's two problems. First, the people that need healing the most have the least access to music. Only 14% of addiction rehabs have music programs. Then there's the other communities, isolated, orphans, injured military, domestic violence victims. Then there's a second problem. Musicians can hardly pay the bills. Their unemployment rate is 9%. That's over double the national average. And there's 40% less paid musicians since 1999. So we can't expect them to volunteer their craft. So Gigs for Change secures sponsors to place socially minded musicians into residential organizations. Using a digital matchmaking system, and with your help, we solve two problems with one solution: Gigs for Change.
Are you frustrated by the issues in the world? Do you feel like we're always competing instead of collaborating? I do, and frankly, I'm tired of it. 40 million people are victimized by human trafficking around the globe. This issue intersects with things like education, gender inequity, mass incarceration, and climate change. Yet the anti-trafficking movement is siloed. Issues like environmental justice share root causes, like government loopholes and businesses putting profits over people and the planet. And yet we don't collaborate, missing huge opportunities to amplify our impact. Intersections for Innovation utilizes a unique collaboration methodology to bring together actors from different movements like this, alongside survivors, local business leaders, and other local community members to identify intersections and co-create solutions. Using design thinking, these groups will brainstorm and prototype solutions that benefit both movements. And after 3 days, these teams will pitch their ideas. The one that's the most sustainable, intersectional, and forward-thinking will receive funding to implement it together. Utilizing diversified revenue streams, this same model can be replicated throughout the globe for many movements and in your own community. Join us to create intersections for innovation.
Since you've already asked to have your eyes closed, I won't ask you to do it again, but if you can just keep in your mind a foreign place you want to visit, that place that's going to make everybody envious, right? That place you might have seen in a magazine or on a movie, and you just like, that tropical place is just so beautiful, I want to go there, right? The villages that you don't really know how to speak the language, but you know, you'll learn along the way. You maybe know a couple words before you get off the plane, and be comfortable when you're there. Now imagine I say, I have a ticket for you and you can go. Now though, right now. How comfortable would you be? How comfortable would you be that you don't know the language, that you didn't get the chance to look at the map or the terrain, you don't know what to wear exactly because is it hot or is it cold? I mean, who wants to go to Hawaii, right, and wearing all snow gear, right? You would know because someone told you or you've been aware. Knowledge to College is a business, and it's formulated to help guide and navigate students that are going to be coming to college for the first time that never had anybody in their life tell them the language of the school, the language of what you're going to wear, the map of the terrain of the classes. This is something that I myself have experienced, coming and being a generation college student myself, and the fear of those that I know around me that never made it to class themselves because they were too scared really to step out and say, I'm gonna try and journey it. That fear of, I don't know how to speak at all, really does take over. And I want you to understand that 40% of the low-income students that get accepted into college never make it the first day of class. They actually never even step foot on the campus. We want to change that and offer tips for them to understand. You can save money. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about having to buy books from the professor. Rent from the library. Don't worry about getting a parking permit. Go ahead and why don't you just walk? I know it might be a mile, but get the exercise in and be positive and help them out and give them the tips to be able to help realistic tips and help them to guide on the way there. Thank you.
There are 5,000 people that are affected by landmines every year. Landmines are explosive remnants of war that are designed to maim but not kill individuals, so they're left with life-altering physical disabilities. Many times they live in third world countries where they do not have access to the improved restroom facilities like we do, so they have to use pit latrines, which essentially are just holes in the ground. My name is Catherine Forsyth, and the MOVE team and I are working to come up with a solution where we can increase sanitation and mobility for landmine survivors. This is a global issue, but currently we're focusing our efforts in northern Uganda. This project is an evolution from a previous USD project called Simple Seat Better Lives. They created portable, collapsible toilet seats that the landmine survivors used as assistive devices in the pit latrines. However, these were very successful once implemented in Uganda, but we realized that there was an additional need to increase mobility for landmine survivors, helping them to reintegrate into their societies and to regain their independence. We've been working for the past 8 months to come up with a new solution, which is a low-cost walker. This walker has an insertable toilet seat, so it can have a dual purpose for a landmine survivor's assistive device in the latrine and also helps them become more mobile. We're traveling to Uganda this summer and we'll work with the Uganda Landmine Survivors Association. We will be providing training and helping them to come up with a sustainable business so that this project is successful long term. We incorporate mobility, opportunity, versatility, and empowerment, and we are Team Move. Thank you.
My name is Ana Sofia Sada, and I'm from Monterrey, Mexico. In our hometown, there are more than 642 nonprofits working every day to solve problems regarding contamination, poverty, education, and so on. These nonprofits lack of resources, including people willing to help. At the same time, 99.4% of the companies in our state are small and medium businesses, and 70% of them want to be socially responsible. What we're missing is a bridge. And that's what we do in Puente y Coma. Puente means bridge in Spanish, because we function as a bridge between nonprofits and small and medium companies. The coma is to state that there is more to come. What we do is we offer a service of creating and coordinating social impact projects. As a social company, we assess a modest fee for the bridge and coordination service in order for a venture to be sustainable. All of the projects are based on empowerment and are aligned to both organization strategies. The projects may vary from a few days of reforestation to a month-long program educating women for finance, or a weekend workshop for writing skills for kids. We listen to the nonprofits and bring their needs to the companies in order to see what collaborations can be done. We invite you to be a part of Puente y Coma and be part of this bridge that is gonna help and change the Mexican society forever. Thank you.
And I'm gonna ask Race for Good to wait for one because we have one team who is currently in El Salvador, so she will be pitching from the screens right here.
Homicidal country in all of Latin America, El Salvador. But to me, as a daughter of two Salvadorians, I have come to recognize this place as something completely different. My parents took the 2,000-mile dangerous journey to the US in order to secure my safety and my future. I see El Salvador as a place of hope, community, family, love, and peace. And this is what Peace on Purpose is trying to bring back to the youth who face extreme levels of violence right now at this time. Why are we here and not with you all? Because Peace on Purpose believes that we have to be grounded and in solidarity with the people of El Salvador in order to grow, in order to reach the youth where they're at. Peace on Purpose is building a sports design curriculum that will be incorporated in already existing organization programs that include sports to build peace. What we hope is that this will break the cycle of violence in order for you to see their full potential. We believe sports can change lives.
Hi, my name's Tanner Wilkie, and in April 2015, all of Nepal was devastated by an earthquake. I had the chance to travel there this past January to Thangdor village, an area where all 700 homes were destroyed and half of all livestock was lost. This livestock was used to support their subsistence farming industry. Our plan is centered around a farming cooperative where they will grow the herb chorido, a herb with amazing medicinal benefits. It can be used as an antiretroviral, anti-cancer, as an insulin producer to treat type 1 diabetes, as well as to treat babies with jaundice who otherwise cannot take antibiotics. As of now, all of the chorido that's produced in Nepal is sent to India, where it is then processed and sent to pharmaceutical companies, where it is sent to India, where it is bought back by pharmaceutical companies at a 2,500% increase. Our plan centers around a short and long-term solution. The short-term solution is in a buffer crop, and the long-term solution is in growing the herb Chiritto. There's a 3-year incubation period before it becomes perennial, which means it can be harvested every year. We plan on taking the funds from growing and processing this crop to support a crippled infrastructure, lack of water, lack of an electrical grid, and no housing. As of now, we plan on using this Thangdor village as a model to expand this all along the Himalayan basin, and we have already planted Chiritto there today. Thank you very much.
Carrying your children for hundreds of miles, leaving your home and everything you know behind. You arrive at a refugee camp, set up a small home, and begin to create a new normal for your family. Now, what if, after all that, a fire rips through your home, burning your food belongings and endangering your loved ones? The 9,000 Burmese refugees impacted by fire in Thailand's refugee camps, this is no hypothetical scenario. This is reality. My name is Erica. With my team, Refugees Illuminate, we propose a simple solution to greatly reduce the number of fires in Thailand's 9 refugee camps. Over 70% of the fires were caused by everyday household lighting and cooking accidents. Through microfinance, we can incentivize refugees to swap out the candles they currently use for safer and more cost-effective solar lanterns. For every $10 you invest in this solution, a solar lantern will be financed to a refugee who will pay it off in 5 months at the same rate, 50 cents per week, as buying a pack of candles for the roof. Our social innovation is simple and practical, and our teammate Washira will be returning to Thailand as the Chief of Refugee Affairs to make this plan happen. We do not want to stand by while refugees suffer from this preventable fire disaster. We can choose safety and peace of mind. I ask you tonight, what will you choose?
Allow me to introduce you to Meg. No, Meg is not a person, but short from a word developed in collaboration with a local garden in the food desert of Indonesia, our product focuses on educating youth about health and sustainability in the garden. Designed by our team of 4 engineers, this three-part system features a removable planter box, a water collection tank from which nutrient-rich and a display table. Storage hooks and detachable measurement devices increase the education. Teach a class of second graders about the workshop in sustainable gardening, or make your own family food garden experience. The bed not only incorporates fresh produce, but also provides the mechanism needed to drive change by reinforcing tonight, we see the supportive and friendly movement to transform our lifestyle into a full-functional product. Thank you all for your time. We hope you will support us in helping Meg sow seeds of change throughout food deserts across America.
Darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. I know what it means to be in the darkness of mental illness, and it's pretty surreal for me to be on this stage, because 7 months ago I envisioned this moment while I was pacing in a padded room in a psychiatric unit. In the time that we all pitch our projects, 90 seconds, 2 people will commit suicide in our world. This needs to change. I'm the co-founder of The Truth of Love, a music production company that aspires to empower those in the darkness of mental illness to know that they are loved and they are not alone. We cannot do this alone. We need to all just jump on the bus of love and ride. You know, it's not going to be easy because people are going to bring us down, but We've really focused on college students throughout this process. In the coming fall, we'll be holding the first Sound of Hope, a mental health forum, where we'll have small groups with peer support, yoga, meditation, and most of all, music. I want to leave you with 4 simple words for you to sleep on and to wake up tomorrow. Stand tall, love all.
January 13th, 1996, in Arlington, Texas. A 9-year-old girl named Amber Hagerman was riding her bike with her brother when she was abducted by a stranger in a black truck. Upon hearing this horrific news, Amber's parents contacted the local news media and fellow neighbors as they all began searching for Amber. 4 long and painful days later, Amber's body was found in a creek with cut wounds to her neck, just 3 miles away from where she went missing. Her murder still remains unsolved till this day. Hi, I'm Alexandra Young, and I'm Team Vehicle Amber Alert. I'm telling you that story because that annoying little alert you get on your phone, yeah, that's called an Amber Alert, and it was named after Amber Hagerman. The problem is with the current Amber Alert system, which you get primarily on our phones, is that it's a one and done system. In other words, people receive the phone notification, look at their phone for a quick second, show a bit of sympathy, and then a minute later, they forget about it, and they move on with their lives. My solution is developing a small technological device that will be implemented in police patrol vehicles. This device will work with the current Amber Alert system and is a hologram that displays the same vital information of Amber Alerts across the rear view windows of police patrol vehicles, especially when in reasonable proximity of abduction. Because let's be honest, when we see a police car, we're all slowing down. Therefore, an individual has a consistent reminder, and this engages entire communities to be on the lookout and assist in the recovery of a missing child sooner and safely. Thank you.
It's no secret that the education system is facing a really big dilemma. In San Diego County alone, there are 40,000 opportunity youth between the ages of 16 and 24 who are not in school and not working. So clearly, this is a reflection of our inadequate and inequitable education system. Now, there are many entities that are trying to work in this space to create solutions, but the truth is these opportunity youth are disconnected from the system itself. There are education platforms online, but the problem is they are geared more towards academic content, subject content, and they are lacking human interaction. So we believe, as an educator myself in the last 18 years, that education really comes from a peer-to-peer mentorship model. In other words, people teach people, not institutions. Industries such as Airbnb and Uber, they're providing platforms to generate new sources of income. And so we're merging our product. Vinci is a community-based education for social change, and it's to combine the peer-to-peer model with local educators in the neighborhood. Users can sign up for free, and then they can upgrade to produce classes and courses for the community. Businesses and nonprofits can also register and provide and showcase their own training and support programs. So we believe that our mission is to create learning communities and connect people to build community learning communities. And so we hope you can join us on this educational renaissance. We hope you can join us on Vinci. Thank you.
Water. It's necessary for our survival. It's so essential that the UN has declared it a basic human right. But a lack of safe drinking water creates a huge crisis. Even here in the US, toxic metal contamination in drinking water poses a grave threat to all forms of life with far-reaching social, economic, and health implications. That's why my team and I have founded the Safe Water Movement and created the Water Sensei, a new smart monitoring IoT device that provides information about water quality to protect people's health. The device is easy to install and passively monitors the purity of drinkable water for harmful metals such as lead and arsenic. It stores and tracks the quality over time to monitor potential changes, and identify risks. The user will be sent a message on their smartphone to alert them if any possible incidences arise. It then publishes the data to the cloud to help serve as an independent monitoring tool of water in the region that the whole community can use to be notified about potential water quality issues. Think a smoke detector, but for your water. Our mission is to inform people of their drinking water quality, thus reducing anxiety, saving money, and minimizing waste when the water is safe, and to improve health, save lives, and empower people to make changes at the governmental level if the water is not of acceptable quality. This is going to be achieved by decentralizing and democratizing water testing and by providing people with reliable data about their water. We help people make informed decisions, reduce waste from plastic bottles, and avoid another Flint, Michigan tragedy. We enable people to make change by bringing them knowledge. Come with us and join the Safe Water movement. Thank you.
About 70% of the people that's inside here probably have family members or themselves are immigrants. Came from outside the country into the United States for a better land. In fact, probably this building was made by immigrants. The true reality is this, is that in today's society, we have this concept of what's called xenophobia. And that integrates and has a problem with global leadership and, more importantly, with global partnership. You ask yourself many times, how is it that countries could come to the United States, vice us go to other countries, and create global partnerships in today's society knowing that there's tension? Well, ask yourself this. If that was you or that was your family member and you was trying to create partnerships at what level, whether the government level, the domestic level, or the private level, would those tensions or partnerships be broken? My name is Anthony Rivera, and I'm with TRZ, and our social innovation is a platform where individuals could be able to travel and learn other experiences through education. One of the biggest concepts we have here is that individuals who don't travel do not know other cultures, and this increases xenophobia. In fact, there's a study that we have studied ourselves in Sweden where educational, cultural, and travel has integrated. The UN right now has an initiative where they're pushing people to be able to see how could they increase the level of travel and reduce xenophobia. So we have a platform where you could be able to travel and monetize by that travel. We will give it back to the industries so they could be able to see our data and be a sustainable future. Thank you. This is TRZ.
Wonderfully done. I'm very proud and pleased of all we've been able to see. So I'm going to invite, I'm going to invite our judges today, who are a subset of judges that have been going through a very rigorous process over the last 2 years, evaluating both the written and now today the final piece, the pitch, the submissions that the students have presented. So I'm going to invite them to follow Dr. Kakad to the green room for final deliberations. And then I'm also going to introduce in just a minute our keynote. So tonight we're going to have the pleasure of hearing from Enrique Luminitz, who is a Mexican-American who's been working in water access in Mexico City for over the last 9 years. If you want to join me, you can while I introduce you. We can give him since he's up here, let's give him a round of applause. And really, this effort started when he was at school at Rhode Island School of Design. So he's going to talk a little bit about his social innovation journey. He's now an Ashoka Fellow, a social entrepreneur, and he's going to grace us with a few words. And to students, we really invite you to take this to heart and remember that the journey maybe started today, maybe started a couple weeks ago, but for sure continues.
Window. View. Great. Thank you so much.
Slides.
Hey, it's nice to be here. This is kind of a cool situation for me to be in. I guess I'm a social innovator. When I started the kind of process that got me to this point, that wasn't like something I had ever heard about. I learned the word social entrepreneur when Ashoka told me that I was a social entrepreneur, which is kind of a cool experience. And it's really pretty awesome to see that this is starting to become something that's integrating into curricula at school, and I really congratulate all you guys for being, thinking about this kind of stuff. My own process with this stuff was a very windy road. There was nothing like social innovation as like an encouraged part of university at all. So I was going to school at the Rhode Island School of Design, and I was working with this other girl, Renata, who was in my same situation, a Mexican person living in the US, thinking about how to do something in Mexico, and we had to do an independent project because there was no other way that we could kind of pursue this stuff. So one day, Renata and I had this conversation, and we said, let's try and pull off a design project where we design sustainable housing for low-income Mexico City. We're from Mexico City and wanted to go back there when we were done with school, and so we said, yeah, let's do this. And so we started going to these neighborhoods on the southern periphery of Mexico City to interview people and to see what we came up with, what occurred to us. This is a picture I like very much. This is a single picture. It's not two pictures. This is Western Mexico City, and you have two very, very different kinds of realities here. You have a very formal kind of housing situation, and then right next to it you have informal housing, which is something that we hadn't really thought about, but we became fascinated by, really. We were interviewing people in the left side of this picture, let's say, and talking to people, we started having this question come up, because we started interviewing people and we started realizing that people were homeowners, in these neighborhoods. The vast majority of people were homeowners in these places. And their families, people were making maybe $500 a month, no credit, no access to mortgages. And so living in the US, we were like, how is that possible? How does that happen? How do people become homeowners under these circumstances? And that became our first area of fascination. Like, how are people doing it? How are people solving these like really complicated challenges, like become a homeowner on $300 a month with no mortgage, So we started interviewing people to try and figure out what was going on. And the story that we heard was, well, we do it progressively. We do it gradually, So people would get a piece of land on the outskirts of the city, which they'd either squat or they would buy informally. And people would show us their like land deeds, which were written on notebook pieces of paper with like a little croquis, just like a little map. And they'd get a piece of land and they'd build something like what's here on this side. So they'd build like usually a cardboard sheet metal kind of little shack. And they'd work, and with whatever little tiny bit of money they were able to kind of save up at the end of each week, they would buy some bricks, they would buy some rebar, they'd start piling it up. A couple years in, they'd be able to knock down the little shack, build a little house, starts looking more like something like this, and repeat, So over the course of maybe 25 years, about as long as it takes, I think, most people to pay off a mortgage, they'd end up having a house that looked something like this. And we became really fascinated in this. I thought that was like an amazingly interesting solution to like a really, really complicated challenge. And while we were talking to all these people, we started noticing also that there was something interesting going on that related to water. We noticed that a lot of the neighborhoods had these sorts of giant clusters of barrels that water trucks would come and fill up, and the families would haul it off in buckets to their houses. We'd go into the houses and we'd see that they had a lot of like tubs and like little buckets, and that they were recycling all the water. And so we started asking people about infrastructure. Like, you built your house little by little because you didn't have the opportunity to do it like formally or conventionally. And so we became curious about how they built their neighborhoods and like what happened then and how that kind of worked out. So we drew a little thing, something like this, on a napkin. And we started interviewing people and asking them how their neighborhoods had been built. So we did it on a timeline. So they started telling us first about the roads. So we were interviewing people, for example, in this one neighborhood, and they said, okay, well, when we first started arriving here and we first started building our little first stage houses, there were no roads. There was just like little like paths in the cerro, in the mountain. But then we cleared them up, and then we started making them into dirt roads. Then we started making them a little bit wider and a little bit nicer. Finally, like in the late 90s, the government was doing a paving program. They didn't have money to pave like the huge many miles of roads that had gone up back then. So the government came, they laid like a giant pile of asphalt in the middle of the neighborhood. They brought a roller, a steam roller, and a tractor. They said, you guys have a week. We're coming to get the tractor for the next neighborhood over. So everybody organized, everybody, they found like the cousin of the guy who knows how to operate a tractor. They all pitched in for the gas and for that guy's food and stuff. And the community spent a week paving the roads, and they had roads, We were like, okay, that's pretty awesome. Electricity, same thing. Like, we didn't have electricity at first. We got this little cable, and we hung it from a light post, maybe like half a mile down the road, brought it up. We were all sharing this one thing, so like if two people had a fridge, the whole thing would blow out, but we had a little bit of light. Over time, we brought more cables. Eventually, the city came in and put in light posts and then transformers. And again, piece by piece, there was progress, movement towards development. Transportation, same thing. At first, it was terrible. We had to walk for miles before we could get on a bus. Eventually, we organized ourselves and bought a little combi, a little VW thing, so that we could all kind of carpool out to the nearest bus stop. Eventually, we were able to lobby the bus people and organize a route, and now we have a bus line here. Transportation is still pretty crap in these parts of Mexico, but it's better than it was in the 70s in these neighborhoods. And then we started asking people about the water, and they told us something that started off a very similar story. When we first moved into the neighborhood, obviously there was nothing, there was no water infrastructure. We were walking, same kind of thing, maybe half a mile down the hill or something to the nearest place. Eventually, they started sending us water trucks, so we had that same kind of water barrel kind of thing, and they'd fill up all the water things. Then they brought us the grid, and suddenly everybody had grid water on tap in their house, and it was awesome. They had water maybe 4 or 5 days a week, water would come out of the grid, But over the last 10 years, 4 days a week turned into 1 day a week. Right now we're getting water maybe 1 day a week, 1 day every 2 weeks. So there was actually a fall in quality water access. And we became really curious about this. We were okay, what is going on? Is this a local thing? Is this an infrastructure problem? Is this maybe a sustainability issue? What is this a reflection of? So we started researching water in Mexico City, which, even though we were from there, we were pretty ignorant about. Turns out that Mexico, right now Mexico's on the top 10 list of cities that are most likely to run out of water in the next 50 years. We're Ciudad del Cabo, South Africa kind of situation, maybe worse. It's a city that's managed its water so unsustainably that we're actually reaching a point where it's failing to sustain. And it's an ironic and weird water crisis in Mexico, because Mexico has a ton of rain. We have about, in parts of the city that we're working, maybe twice the rainfall that London has. We have torrential 1 hour rain events that'll give you more water than London gets in a week. Hour, but basically we have this problem where we're running out of water, but it's constantly flooding, and we're constantly struggling to flush out huge amounts of water. And so it occurred to us that maybe putting up rainwater harvesting systems in houses might make a lot of sense. Maybe it was at first we were almost dude, this seems too simple not to have been done. Christ, seems obvious. But the more we thought about it, and the more we talked about people, the more convinced we started being this actually made a tremendous amount of sense. We started thinking about it and talking about it a lot. And we started saying, hey, people were telling us, nah, dude, putting up a rainwater harvesting is super expensive. Super expensive. If you really want to cover your water needs, you need big tanks and you need all this stuff. So we started thinking, we were well, the people built their houses already, in the absence of having enough money to own a house. So maybe we could think about things like rainwater harvesting systems that maybe could start as a little tiny, almost like a rain barrel. That doesn't cost a lot of money. And they'll have a water supplement. But over time they could add to it. Maybe 15 years from now, maybe they could be water autonomous. Maybe we could do little rainwater harvesting systems that are a seed or a tool that, as the water situation gets worse, the people aren't just standing there with their pants down without having anything. And so, telling me to use the mic. And so we got this idea, to use rainwater harvesting as this sort of seed kind of method. And we were thinking, the problem is city scale problem. It's a huge problem in Mexico City that's coming with water. And putting up a rainwater harvesting system in a house is obviously not going to really do anything in terms of the city. But maybe if this becomes normal, if like suddenly all houses have rainwater harvesting system, if this becomes a normal part of infrastructure at a household level, maybe it might actually make a difference, no? So maybe like it can start small in the house, but it could also start small in the city and it could grow, no? And we could do something that overcomes these immediate cost limitations that we have in Mexico all the time, no? And we thought this was a really cool idea. And so, you know, we finished school, we presented it, everyone was really happy. And when we finished school, Renata and I were like, dude, this is like a good idea. This is like a really interesting project. Like we should really like see if this is real or if this is just an idea. And so the woman here, his name is Clara Gaitan, who is one of the people we interviewed the most during this process. And she's just like an unbelievably cool lady and very concerned about water. And so we talked to her, we were like, hey, how would you feel about us like piloting a rainwater harvesting system in your house? And she was like, dude, totally, dude, I'm totally 100% in. Always stressed about water, Clara, no? And so we built a rainwater harvesting system and we had never done it before. It was like a very crude and simple thing, but we got this geomembrane tank that you can see in this picture, 8,000 liter tank, hooked it up to her roof, kind of invented like a sort of like a little filter. And dude, first rain event and the thing was like full of water, no? We didn't know if it was gonna be clean water. We didn't know anything, no? But it looked really clean. And Clara's family, 7-person household, did 8 straight months without any outside water coming into her house, just on rainwater, no? And they've kept that up since 2009, which is when this system went up. So we were like, okay, this is like pretty fucking awesome. Like we were super stoked. I was honestly blown away. Like I didn't think it would be so abundant, no? And would work so well. And so I talked to Clara and I was like, dude, find me a room in your neighborhood. And so she found me like a little room and I moved to this neighborhood in 2009. And I moved in to this little building right there. And I started putting up rainwater harvesting systems with the neighbors, no? And I was like, okay, like let's see where this takes us, no? Let's put up rainwater harvesting systems, let's talk about it. And let's see what goes, no? So I started putting up rainwater harvesting systems with the neighbors, with like the shoesmith next door was the second system, a couple friends like across the street. It started going, people started hearing about it somehow, no? Because I was talking about it to everybody. People started showing up at the house with like suitcases being like, dude, I'm renting a room here too. And I want to help, no? 2 people here, David and Jenny, David Vargas, Jennifer White. Dude, they showed up with their suitcases and stayed. Like a couple weeks in, no? At a certain point, there were 9 people living in this little neighborhood installing rainwater harvesting systems with us. And so that's how Isla Urbana was born, no? I can't even believe it happened, honestly. Very quickly, it became apparent there was like a technological dimension to this. We needed to figure out how to like design rainwater harvesting systems that would work really well. And that was something that we needed to like work on continuously. But this was like first and foremost a social project. Like we needed to teach people how to harvest, teach people how to do it, and at first get people to be willing to try it, even in the beginning, no? So we just started organizing community meetings all the time, doing community meetings. There's like a little tianguis, like these like little markets that move around that would come by every weekend. So every time the market was around, we'd take out like paint and like big craft paper and stuff so that the children of like the stand owners could come and we'd like kind of draw and play with them and use that as like an excuse to talk to their moms and just started talking about it, literally like in the communities, no? And in parallel, testing out and developing like the actual technology itself, no? So this beautiful, I find, just like evolutionary process, no? Like the early systems, dude, we were like jigging up these like systems on our roof with like a blowtorch and a drill, and like making our own filters and stuff and doing it on like a dime. Over time, you know, people started getting interested. We started being able to pull off better things. So there's been like this progressive process of figuring out the technology better. The system on the bottom here, these would be more like the systems that we're installing right now. What we figured was, okay, like we got these houses, we got to figure out what the houses are like. Okay, they have roofs. A lot of the times they already have tanks, you know, because if you get water once a week, you got to have a tank already somehow, little or big, but you got to have storage. So It's design systems that you can connect existing roofs and existing tanks, or add a tank if you need to, but that you can take advantage of whatever's already there so that we can make this really fast and as cheap as possible. And so we started designing these rainwater harvesting systems very specifically so that we could make things that could be very well transferred to the population, that if something broke, people could learn how to fix it very quickly, be as intuitive as possible, and just like give water, put water into these communities as quickly as possible. We also started doing a lot of art, a lot of artwork in the communities. We started taking theater companies to do plays in these communities. We started taking artists and muralists and like musicians and stuff like that. Because communities that don't have water, like usually don't have much of anything else either. Like if you have a community that the city isn't able to really get water to, they're certainly not sending them a whole lot of like art and culture stuff either, And people love it and people like need it and want it. And so this was also an opportunity to do like these richer kind of conversations with people. And yeah, you do plays, you do them about water a little bit. You take the opportunity to create these conversations that are a lot richer with people. This all started in like 2009. I moved out to this neighborhood. The first year we installed like 17 rainwater harvesting systems. Like we started with no money. Last year we put up like 3,000 systems. So it's been this like beautiful process of just like, 14 turns into like 100, turns into like that. And so we've basically been working on how to do these things at costs that work. Right now we're putting up rainwater harvesting systems, which including like labor, which is actually the most complicated thing, is that each system has to be a custom install to a certain degree. Even if the components are the same, every house is different. So we're doing these like custom installations, and we could do them for $500 if the family already has the tank. And it's created this like school of rainwater harvesting technicians that now we kind of got. So now we have like this whole thing where like local plumbers become rainwater harvesting technicians, which has been a really cool thing. And the systems are giving on average 5 to 8 months of complete water autonomy per year per family, like starting point, And they can become year-round systems if the family keeps on slowly adding tanks, which is, I think, just super cool, honestly. Right now we're in like this whole other kind of thing because now it's suddenly started to become like a public policy thing, So when we started, you would Google rainwater harvesting in Spanish and you wouldn't find anything, Anything. Right now, last week, there were the mayoral candidate debates for Mexico City, and the 4 top candidates were all like competing with each other over who's gonna install more rainwater harvesting systems in Mexico City, which was just super rad, dude. I was like in the traffic with my friend. We stopped and got a beer. We were like in the traffic, like cheering. We were like, basically, we've actually amazingly succeeded in putting this into like the public agenda. And like now it's an accepted like strategy to deal with this stuff. And we've been doing all this work now to be like, okay, how do we like turn this into effective public policy? So right now we're working with like a group of university people. Oxfam is financing all this stuff. We're doing this like, this mapping work. This is a map that we're creating with these people where we're for the first time mapping exactly where people do and don't have water in Mexico City so that we can actually make policy without just like shooting in the dark, So this is actually an accurate map of water precariousness in Mexico City, where people that are in the red areas are people that are living with 20, 30 liters of water a day, don't have any water progressively, and the people that live in the center of the city have plenty of water and are barely aware of this stuff, and we're working on having that change too. We started working a lot in rural areas. That was like an organic thing. This is a project that we started for Mexico City because we're from Mexico City, and that's what we wanted to do, and that was our mission. But we started getting kind of drawn out into like deeper Mexico, like rural Mexico, and we work a lot with indigenous communities, which is actually kind of like my favorite part of the work now. But I put up this picture. This is a girl named Karime in a Huichol community, like super, super isolated community, and we've been putting up rainwater harvesting systems there. And I put up this picture because kids draw like their house with their family and stuff like that. You give kids paper and like they very typically draw their house. And Karime drew this picture of her house with a rainwater harvesting system on it, unprompted. This picture gets at, I think, a lot of what we're trying to do, Get ourselves to this point where harvesting rainwater becomes so normal and just such a usual part of infrastructure that it's as much part of your house as, I don't know, the tree in front or the washing machine or something. Huh? So that's what we're doing. And yeah, that's been my social innovation journey. Yeah, I think that there's no question and answer, is there? No? There's no question. Well, if anyone's interested in getting involved or just asking more about it, we'll be at the reception and happy to drink some wine and talk more about it. Congratulations, eh?
So, thank you to Enrique, and I'll just reiterate. So, Sol, could you also raise your hand? If you want to ask some questions, we'll have plenty of time in the reception, which we'll direct you to after this. So, thank you for that. So now it's a pretty exciting time for us to be able to announce some prizes and our finalists. So I would just like to start with a little bit of context. So the first prize that we're going to announce is the Map the System Challenge. The Map the System Challenge is an opportunity for students worldwide, and USD is one of the participating universities, to map an issue. So the idea here is to understand the problem in its context, to understand the problem and its context, the current solutions, the gaps, and the levers for change. And then what that becomes is a platform for students to be able to address a social innovation, to propose a social innovation based on what they've been able to study and their analysis of the same. So for the first award that we're going to bring up, I'm going to ask a team that's going to come up on stage that is going to be the team that we send to Oxford. So if I could have to the stage Refugees Illuminated. And I'd love to also invite Kirsten up onto the stage, and Dan if he's here. And we're going to have a quick photo with them. So this just lets you guys know that your next step is Oxford. So we're really excited for you to go be our representatives in Oxford. So why don't we come for a quick photo here? So congratulations to this team who has mapped the issue, as you have seen, about the issue of campfire disasters in refugee camps in Thailand. So thank you. Next, we're going to announce a series of in-kind prizes. And so what I would like for this is for each team, as your name is announced, for you to come up onto the stage and then to stay on the stage. And then we'll all collect here for a group photo of the in-kind prizes. All right, so for our first in-kind prize, which is virtual mentorship from Capital Factory, I would like to invite onto the stage Generations. And again, we'll do a big group photo at the end. So for the next, congratulations. For the next, which is a one-year Clean Tech San Diego membership, I'd like to invite to the stage Energy Poverty. For the next, which is 3 months of hot desk co-working space at Collective Impact Center, I'd like to invite to the stage Baja Urban. I'd also like to invite to the stage Knowledge to College. For 3 months of co-working at Desk Hub, I'd like to invite to the stage Vehicle Amber Alert. She may not be here. All right, well, we'll move on. Oh, there she is. Wonderful. We can keep applauding for her, yeah. And for co-working at Downtown Works, I'd like to invite to the stage MEG, the A team. Next, for Entre Amigas, if anybody's here to accept this on her behalf, we have Peace on Purpose. If not, we will get it to her. And for Flourish San Diego Flex Dex Pass for co-working, we have Truth of Love. All right, for Growth Hacks, which is mentoring, we have 3 teams. I'd like to invite to the stage, if they're not already here, Gigs for Change. And Move. And Vinci. You can see we're quite a crew. We can even create 2 rows if you want, because we're going to take a group picture. All right. So quite a few here for 1-year subscription to HoneyBooks. We have Baja Urban. Where is she? We have Enlightened. We have Generations. Puente y Coma. Vinci. Here you are. The Water Sensei. Okay, so this is a 2-hour group workshop with mission-driven finance. So we have a couple teams. We have Baja Urban, Enlightened, here you are, Generations, Intersections for Innovation, and Water Sensei. Here you are. For 2-hour in-kind consulting with NETEC, we have TRC. And 2-hour consulting with Next Leap, we have Intersections for Innovation. For brand advisory service with the Office of Awesome, we have Baja Urban. All right, and with a 6-month software subscription to Tiny Opera House, we have Be Sisterly. We have gigs for change. Gigs for change. We have intersections for innovation. We have knowledge to college. Move. There you are. Peace on Purpose, which we'll get to her. USD Race for Good. Refugees Illuminated. And I'll come on up. As well as the MEG. They're gone. And finally, Truth of Love. Now comes the fun part for us to take a group photo. So if we're gonna have to cluster, and then Rodney's gonna have to tell us when we're close.
So one part with that is, if some of us can sit right here, a couple of us, one row can squat behind them, halfway through, and then the tallest ones go in the back.
So thank you. This means that all of them have lots of next steps after tonight. So we're really excited for them to continue on in their journey. So with that, I'll invite Dr. Kakad back to the stage.
Thank you, Rachel. So, as we promised, at least from my perspective, this has been an action-packed afternoon, including the nearly impossible feat that we achieved with all of us in the same picture. But with that, let's get to what all the teams are eagerly waiting for. Nomination for the 2 USD finalists that will get to represent Tororo Changemaking at the June 23rd event at the grand finale of the Global Social Innovation Challenge. Before I get to that, I want to just thank one more time the lead sponsor of today's showcase, Pacific Western Bank, that have been a supporter for the Social Innovation Challenge for many years and have been the lead sponsor for this event. So, building suspense a little more, here is what the finalists will get to do. Apart from representing us at the global final, where 26 other universities from 12 countries in 6 continents will send their finalists, so the competition will be tough, but they will have a little bit of help along the way. They will get featured in Connect Communications. They'll get featured with Antibonita Communications, and they will get consulting from Mission Edge. So, are we ready for the 2 that gets to do all of that? I didn't hear you. So the two teams that have the honor are Water Sensei and Refugee Illuminated. May I please invite both the teams on the stage. All right. And let's spend 2 more seconds for friends up in the front. So, what's next? For these teams, it's in fact the continuation of the journey, and for all the other teams. Instead of trying to say it, let me bring out Dean Marquez on stage, who will do it in a way that none of us could do that.
That's a lot of pressure there. So I am the person standing between this and our beautiful Garden of the Sea, where we'll get to sip some wine or some water or some other kind of beverage and really talk about everything we have heard tonight, because this is an absolute wow. And that wow deserves a better applause from what I'm hearing lately. So can we give them a wow applause? Really. Thank you. Thank you. And I'm with you, Enrique. When I was in college, probably a long time before even you were in college, I had a lot of energy. I still do, so it hasn't changed. And I do remember, because I had so much energy, I was a math major, and then I was an archaeology minor, and I took Latin classes, and I did equations, and I'm like, what else? And I did the big brother, the big sister, and I'm trying to figure it out. I went skiing because I grew up in Venezuela, so skiing sounded like something I needed to learn how to do. And all these things, and I wish so badly that we had something called social innovation and social entrepreneurship. We didn't. So my big thing was that when I was a senior in college, I founded the Huntington Bird Watching Club. And the highlight of the spring semester of my senior year wasn't even dating the great guy that I was supposedly meeting at that time. It was that I saw a snowy owl in a very cold winter in Maine. So imagine what having these kind of opportunities do for great, energetic, young people who want to create change. I'm not saying that was me, but I did say that I had a lot of energy and, like many of you, tons of ideas. And that always was in my mind, and I was very fortunate that together with people I'm seeing in this side of the room, and forgive me if I'm not seeing some of you in this other side, was this idea of creating the Center for Peace and Commerce, which was bringing together the school, that marriage that Dean Gomez talked about. No, we're not married, we're really good friends. And our schools really are a great combination of different perspectives and different ideas on how do we use the knowledge of management, entrepreneurship, business, and link it with the deep knowledge of a school of peace in terms of people, social problems, conflict resolution, negotiation, mediation, to create new solutions to all problems as well as emerging problems. So that was the thinking behind, and I still remember some of the original members sitting here saying, yeah, but what's next? What else? Patricia, you talk a lot, so what's happening here? And it's like, okay, what should happen here? And together we created this idea of the Social Innovation Challenge, which started in 2011, and just at the beginning with Peck Ross, we were remembering 2011 was the first year. Do you know how many teams we had in 2011? It was, how many water things did you have, Enrique? The first year, how many did you build? 17, well, it's close. We had 16 teams. And think about today, kind of a parallel, it's a different story, but it has similarities in some ways. We're in 2011, and how many teams do we have just from USD? 76. So, and then it's not only that, each team has several people. As we see, this is a large team of graduates and undergraduates, of people from the School of Peace, as well as people from engineering, correct? And this is what we're building together. And it's not only USD, it's not only San Diego, it's not only schools in Tijuana. We are in many parts of the world. This year we have 27 institutions, and we have, as part of our mission, to invite countries that are experiencing all kinds of difficulties. Hopefully next year we'll have an institution from Venezuela, which is my country of origin, and it's experiencing a lot of difficulties. It needs social innovation. But I do want to wrap this up with the idea that Amit mentioned. This is a journey. So whatever you got being here today, not even the award, not the in-kind, not the opportunity, it's what took you here and how this will shape the decisions, the ideas, the practices that you will continue for the rest of your life, because you are hungry to build things. You're hungry to create change. As a university, we are honored to be able to create platforms that channel that energy, that hunger, that idea that we can create change. And I really thank all of you for creating and shaping a better reality. It's in your hands, and we're just facilitators of that change. So with that, I want to invite everybody to be here at the Global SIC in June of 23rd and 24th. That took me a while to memorize. All of you, and you see that we'll see people here as well as connected through what social media and new platforms allow us to do. People from Nigeria, people from Peru, people from the East Coast, really taking social innovation and learning and what a university is and should be about to a completely new level. So join us in building social innovation and social entrepreneurship as an agenda within universities. It's the perfect combination of thinking and doing, and not waiting for other people to come up with the answers. We have the capacity to not only see the answers, building with communities, but also implementing with our peers, with our professors, with our alums, with our graduates, with the people that we're a part of, San Diego, Linda Vista, Tijuana, and the world. So I hope to see all of you in the Global Social Innovation Challenge, and I hope you continue to be a part of this story. The world needs it, and we can't wait. So now, let's have a great round of applause, because I loved hearing it. Better than that. Thank you.
Well, wonderful. So we'll see you right here, June 23rd. You have an official invitation. So just a couple quick notes before our reception. One is, on the way out, if you're not, we encourage you to keep your program, especially if you were one of the students today. If you're not planning on keeping it, we want it back because we will reuse it and recycle it. So if you can hand it to one of the Center for Peace and Commerce staff on the way out, we really want to make sure that we were honoring the Sustainable Development Goal number 13, climate action. Also, on the way out, be sure to say thank you to the Center for Peace and Commerce team, and if we could give a quick round of applause to them because they made it happen. So thank you to you all. We love you very much. And also, I would just ask that if all of the semifinalists, as well as any sponsor in-kind sponsors, could stay just for 5 extra minutes for a couple additional photos here up on stage. And then with that, I would like to invite you to the Garden of the Sea, which is behind. So in case you've heard it's the Garden of the Sky, it's actually the Garden of the Sea, which is behind. So we'll all come out either one of these hallways and join us in the reception, and hope that you can continue to make connections tonight. So thank you one more time.